Okay, Rams, today's video is about triangles. And the first one we're going to talk about for just a second is equilateral triangles. Now, on an equilateral triangle, you learned already that they have three congruent sides, but they're also three congruent angles. Now, this means that this side is the same as this side, and it's the same length as this side. Well, that's great. But what about the angles? If they're all three the same, if this is whatever measure it is, all three are the same. And if the total is still 180 degrees, what is each one going to have to be? Well, for every equilateral triangle in the world, I could just say 180 divided by 3 is 60 degrees. So each angle in an equilateral triangle has a measure of 60 degrees because they're always the same. That's every equilateral triangle, no matter what, okay? That's the easy one. Now let's go to isosceles triangles. Okay, I'm going to slide this up a little bit here so I make it not fall and crash. Okay, there we go. All right, isosceles triangles here, the angles still have a sum of 180 degrees no matter what. Okay, but if you know that there are two congruent sides, how do you tell which two angles are congruent? Okay, now this is a little trick here to help you figure out the missing angle, okay, or which two are congruent. So if I know that this side here is congruent to this side, these two sides of my triangle, if I take this little mark and I try to make it an arrow, turn it into an arrow, which angle, which corner is it pointing at? Right over here. So this is one of my congruent angles because it is across from the congruent side. Now, if this is one of my congruent angles, or one of my congruent sides, then I follow it right over here, and that means this one here is congruent. So on this triangle, this angle is the same measurement as this angle. Okay? We're going to practice it down here. All right, today's assignment, we have 3 practice problems here, and then you have 10 to do on your own, okay? And that'll be the only assignment there is for today, okay? All right, so this is an isosceles triangle. I'm going to turn it a little bit for us. All right, so these two marks, now, it doesn't matter which way they're angled. If let's say, okay, which corner is adjacent or across here corresponding to this side? If I pointed this and made an arrow, it goes over here. And this one goes right down here. So that means if angle B is 72 degrees, then angle A is also 72 degrees. Now I could use the same thing I learned in the last video, yesterday's, to figure out angle C. What I could do is add 72 plus angle C equals 180. Well, 72 plus 72 is 144, plus angle C equals 180. All right, so all I'm going to need to do now to isolate that variable, remember solving those equations? All I would do right here is subtract 144, subtract 144. So I have a 6 and a 3. So that means this one up here is 36 degrees. So I just have to, as long as I know which two are congruent, that's where we have a lot of trouble sometimes, okay? Now, this next one right down here looks just like that, okay? I have two angles. It gave me 2 of them this time, but both of these are 43 degrees. So I know that 43 plus whatever that number is right there has to have a sum of 180 degrees. Okay, so I add these up, and I get 86 plus whatever that number is has to equal 180. Well, remember solving those equations, I isolate the variable, so the opposite of adding 86 is subtracting 86. Okay, I'm left with whatever that measure is equals, and then 180 minus 86. 4 and a 9, 94. That means this is going to be an isosceles obtuse triangle, or an obtuse isosceles. Means I have 2 congruent angles and 1 that is obtuse. Now, both of these problems here, we knew the two that were congruent. The next one is a little bit different because we know the angle that is not congruent. Okay, we know the opposite one. Okay, so this arrow right here means this one, angle C, is congruent to angle A. Okay, and that makes it a little bit trickier. So what I do is I know that 46 plus, let's say A plus, I'm going to say C for now, equals 180 degrees. So 46 degrees plus the measure of A plus the measure of C. Now, what's really cool is that A and C are the same thing, right? So it's kind of like saying I have two A's. Well, if I subtract 46 and I subtract 46, what I'm going to be left with is, was that a 6 there? No, a 4, sorry. And then 134 degrees is the sum of both of these A's. Okay, makes sense there? The sum of A plus C. So really it's 2A equals 134. Okay, so this means that 46 plus this one is 180. So if I subtract 46, I get 134. But that 134 is the total of these two together. But since they are congruent or equivalent, I can divide by 2. I could divide by 2. So, was that 67? 67 degrees there. Okay? So that means A is 67 degrees and so is C. Now, if I wasn't 100% sure, what I could do is add these up. 67 plus 67 plus 46 and ask myself, do those add up to 180 degrees? Okay, so it's a little bit trickier when you know the angle that is not one of the congruent ones, okay? In your isosceles triangles, you have two that are congruent and one that is not. When you know the two that are congruent, it was really easy. Right here, when you only knew one of these, you had to subtract and then divide by 2, okay? All right, so now your practice problems. Your video is going to pause and give you a place to solve them. So I can zoom this out enough here. I'm so sorry. Raise up my iPad stand there. There we go. Okay, there's problem 1. What is the measure of angle B? Uh-oh, we don't even have an angle B on here. It tells us this side and this side are congruent. I'm going to say this is angle B right up there. Okay, what is the measure of angle B? All right, so on this problem, what I would do is I know if this is 70, then this is also 70. So 70 plus 70 is 140. 140 plus what is 180? I'm so sorry, I'm off the screen. It would be 40 degrees. Uh-oh, there's not a right answer on there. All right, so I will fix it, but your answer choices. I'll make that one say 40, okay? So sorry. Okay, next. What is the measure of angle X? Okay, same thing. This is an isosceles triangle, so these two are congruent. Okay. Question 3. All right, here. On a right triangle, that's a very important clue here. One given angle measures 37 degrees. So you know what I would do is always draw it. Okay, I know on a right triangle there has to be a right angle. And let's say this one over here measures 37 degrees. So what is the other acute angle? Reading is very important in that one, okay? Next. Will the three angle measures of 45 degrees, 73 degrees, and 72 degrees form a triangle? Okay. Number 5. Oh, it's almost like we're back in class, right? Which expression would be used to find the missing angle? So it's not always just about finding the angle. Which expression could you use, or which equation could you use? Okay, those parentheses are very important there. All right, what is the measure of angle A? What is the measure of angle A? And angle A is this one right up here. Now this is like that last one we solved on our practice problems. Oh, I did not realize. I think it might even be that same problem. Oops. Okay, 7. Eva drew the right triangle shown below. What is the measure of angle Z? All right, so that little square tells us it is a right angle, so that means that it is a 90-degree angle. Okay, number 8, triangle PQR is an isosceles triangle. If measure P is 72 degrees, and what is the measure of angle Q? So it gave us one of those congruent angles, but not both of them. Number 9 here. Triangle ABC is an isosceles triangle. If the measure of angle A is 48 degrees, what is the measure of angle B? Okay, so remember, look at where these are pointing. The ones across from it are the congruent angles. Okay? And last but not least, which of the following sets of angle measures represents a triangle? Basically, this just means which of these has a sum of 180 degrees. Which one? And that's all you have to do. Make for sure you get all the way to the end and submit your video, okay? You have to submit it before it accepts the grade. Have a great day, guys.